So here is the concept art I'll be working from. I hope that after the completion of this cottage, I will find time to integrate it into a full-fledged environment, to show you and test many interesting methods of working with organics and landscapes, which have not yet seen the light of day, unfortunately, and leave and test scenes in the form of proofs of concept. But I'm itching to start working specifically on architecture. Otherwise, it would be right to approach the planning of the whole scene. But I realize in advance that in this particular case, I can first complete the architecture, this cottage, and then I can integrate it into the natural environment. Once again, this is not the right approach in real production, especially, but this is a portfolio job. And to be clear, I want to save time and at least have a result on the architecture to strengthen my portfolio a bit faster. This is a concept by the extremely talented artist, Xiaosheng Bai. Excuse me for probably mispronouncing the name. Here is his profile on ArtStation. I'll leave the link in the description below the video. And I'll start by taking a closer look at the concept and collecting references that will help me throughout the creation. I've decided to make my life as easy as possible by building on the concept as much as possible, so I don't really need geometry references at this point. Shapes from large to quite small details are already solved by the concept. However, at the very first stage, I would like to collect material references, surfaces references. When we get to the layer material pipeline, it will be pretty obvious that it is better to plan the surface materials and how exactly we will recreate them early on. And my logic here is simple. I'll start with what I'm most concerned about. So in this case, the roofing, the roof shingles is what concerns me the most. And here's why. This is obviously a fantasy medieval stylized house, right? So we will be doing it in a realistic setting. So it will be fantasy realism. So that all the texturing, all the materials will have will be either taken from the scanned data from Megascans or created trying to mimic the real world materials. I'm not concerned with the brick and the mortar and the plaster because they're pretty straightforward. There will be some interesting approaches to how to blend it all and how to make shader and blending in master material, but that is we'll come to that in the future. But for now, what concerns me is the roofing, because I know that terracotta diamond-shaped shingles are rare in historic structures, and I wanted to use terracotta tiles specifically, as that is how I interpreted the concept. I would not like to use wooden tiles or slates or even shingles made of metal, although the concept could have been interpreted differently. Judging by the color, it could have been wooden tiles, but I would like to achieve an interesting breakup of materials, the material definition. The combination of plaster, wood on the slabs and beams, and terracotta on the roof would, in my opinion, enhance the visual effect considerably. So here we are in Google, and this is my prompt: medieval diamond-shaped roof shingles. And here's what we get. And I see some suitable photos of texture itself, like this one or this one. And if I was just doing material bowls for portfolio, then probably these references would be enough for me. like this. What I'm really missing, however, are real world use cases. And that could help with difficult places like the joints between two roofs, for example, and maybe some other problematic situations like here. And overall, it's nice to have good references that are as close as possible to the concept art. So you can see here we have several architectural structures. However, none of them really fulfill the criteria of my search. For example, this one has fish scaled tiles, and just the photos of a low quality. So the Google search, just like by the simple prompt, isn't helping me a lot. Perhaps in some cases, I would be satisfied with these texture pics only. And especially I know that the type of shingles that I'm looking for was quite rarely used. So I have a large collection of castle architecture and medieval architecture on Instagram, and I've been gathering it for quite a while, and I know for granted that, like, at least I have not come across this particular diamond-shaped terracotta shingles before. But I would like to show one trick that allowed me to find exactly what I was looking for. And in order to do so, I will jump into ChatGPT, and I want to ask him, what does he know about the exact real-world use cases of castle architecture that uses diamond-shaped terracotta tiles? So as I said, I asked him if he knows any specific medieval castles, diamond-shaped where diamond-shaped roof shingles were used, and he named a few, being Castle Bran, Castle Chenonceau, and Amboise. So then I went further, and I won't translate that in English in written form, so I'll just verbalize it. I asked him if he knows any websites where I can find high-quality, high-resolution photographies of sad castles, Chenonceau, Amboise, and Bran. And you see what it does. Like, it gave me some Pixabay with a search on all these castles, some Flickr with the search on these castles, and this alone, I was only browsing for Castle Bran for now, and I already found some very decent high-resolution references of the diamond-shaped roof shingles that I was originally searching for. This is so cool, and as a bonus I have this, and I almost think that even the concept artist here, I think maybe, I'm not saying that for sure, but maybe he also used Castle Bran as an inspiration, as his reference. And this is good because you see this, like this wooden inlays everywhere in the stone walls and the balconies. It's just the same, right? So I think he was using this castle, maybe these same references as his inspiration, as his source of inspiration, which is cool. I love that to decipher the original thought of the concept artist, if it's possible. So yeah, this speeds up the process a lot, you know, and just it raises the quality at the same time. So please, we can use ChatGPT that way. Just that this will help us to search for references now. It's like next level reference gathering. So I've put together a selection of references that will definitely be sufficient for me at this point. I've had a lot of luck with Bran Castle. Many elements of its architecture seem useful for my task. 80% probably of these photos are taken from there. I've broken the concept down by materials. So you can see references for wood, for roofing and stonework. Let's start with wood. It's pretty straightforward. Here are some great examples of integrating wooden beams into plastered walls. You can see here the color of the wood, the cracks, the size of the chamfers on the wooden beams also. You can see how crisp they are. Let's take another look at the door. I honestly don't think the artist paid enough attention to the design of this door, which is totally legit, taking how small this is compared to the whole image. And I would have taken the final design to something simpler and more realistic, based on what is on the concept, however. So I found this diamond-shaped grated window here, and I kind of like the pattern of the planks on this door, so I think I'll just leverage this exact photo to build something geometrically similar to that door on the concept, however keeping it, you know, simpler. I'll maybe have just one diamond-shaped window in the middle of the door, and then the rest will be just the intersecting planks, like here. So we have already talked about the roofing, but in the final selection, I can borrow some interesting solutions, both for the material of the shingles themselves and for the places of intersections. You see here, insanely high quality references. This is what I've been looking for, you know. And the material itself, it's like you have all the color variation and grime and lichen, all of that here. Also these corner tiles, you see these corner shingles, they're very pretty unique design, can also be borrowed, and at least, you know, at least I'll try them and see what happens in 3D, because there might be a chance I would like to go with something simpler again. We'll see how it looks. On Stoneworks, here's a good example to which I will strive. So we're going to have 4 layers of material: medieval brick, I can see a little bit of here, then rough mortar, like that, and a thin layer of crumbling plaster, like everywhere else, and either snow or grime on top of everything. Here's a similar example, but it looks a bit more modern and neat, which I don't really like. But we have here a great example of using irregular masonry, a frequent thing on medieval architecture and something that is on our reference also, something that is on our concept art. You see here, that is a very stylized form, but I can tell that this might be interpreted as something similar to what we have here. And since we're going for realism, this example, perhaps in a less exaggerated shape and scale, would work fine for me, I think, and it could add some visual interest, unless it's overdone, so we'll see about it in the future. The last point that bothers me a lot is the arches. So on the concept art, we clearly see this protruding decorative masonry. You can tell there's extrusion here, right? And the use of protruding arches would be really a quick and easy solution, which appeals to me. And, you know, in general, these protruding arches can be found in reality and on historical architecture, obviously. However, the very fact of being decorative would work, I think, in favor of stylization more than it would work in favor of realism in surface design and blending of the materials. Perhaps this thought is rather vague, but let me take another chance to explain myself here. So these arches, like here, or arches like here, which are integral part of the building, are, in my opinion, associated with greater historical authenticity, while decorative arches, like we see here, with the protruding edges, are associated with renovation and modern architecture, or 20th century architecture mimicking medieval architecture. And I realized that in the late medieval period, decorative arches with this protruding edge were used throughout. But I still think that arches that are integral part of the construction have a greater effect. But at the same time, they're more difficult to execute properly. So we'll see which way to go. Perhaps we'll choose both to just show the difference in approaches. So in closing, I would like to say, I feel like I have enough collected references to jump into Maya and start with blockout in my next video. I may feel the need to add some more specific references for individual elements that I have or will have any difficulty interpreting from just the concept art. But overall, we're all set, and I'll see you in the next video.